Hello and welcome to Let's Talk with Victory. I'm Leisha Lee. Ladies, it's good to see y'all today.
Good to see you too.
Good to be seen. Good to be seen. I always wanted to say that because I heard somebody else say it. But today, our topic for today is technology and the effect it has on our young people. And my first question is, can the use of technology ruin children's development? Why or why not?
I say no. I don't think that it's a yes and no. Yes, it can if it's not monitored properly.
Okay.
No, it cannot if it's used properly. It should not be used as the ultimate training tool. Mm-hmm. No matter what technology advances to, I do not believe that it can overpower or override what you can be taught one-on-one from a person. And so I think it's a yes and no.
I was going to also say yes and no. I was going to say, I'll say yes if it's excessive use, if it's used, if it's like used too much, and they don't have like a social outlet. And I'll say no if it's used appropriately.
Okay.
I think the effects are more negative than anything. I think, even as adults, we know that we can get a dependency to screen time and being, so connected to it, so into it, and then exposing young people to that even sooner when they really don't have the skill to balance, knowing how to engage in real life, knowing how to participate in the classroom. Everything is done via screen. I think it's more ruinous than anything.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I believe technology can be the resource to take the children to another level. And the reason I say that is because with anything, you need training. So, for example, we are in a stage of innovation and technology. This is the age that we're in. And a lot of the career opportunities and positions are requiring individuals to understand and know how to use technology. So therefore, it is important, especially with education, that we are training the students and individual children how to use it properly, as everyone has said. And then also we have to monitor the accessibility, where they're going on the internet, right, how it's being used. So it's something with like anything else in society. It has to be monitored. It cannot be used excessively, and it has to be used for the good to advance the individual and not hinder them.
See, like I get the educational purposes, and I get that, okay, like for their careers in the future, they're going to need it. But what happened to just like having kids be kids? Like if everything is fed to you through the screen, what about your imagination? What about your creativity? I don't want to, think of kids being, institutionalized or indoctrinated to come into this system. Well, you know how to run a cash register because there's a picture on it. You don't know the math. Or, everything is just touch, touch, touch. And you operated by icons. What about your critical thinking? What about your language development? What about reading? What about going outside? Like, I just think it's, pigeonholing them so early and just getting them so familiar with that.
Well, I think that's where you have to be a parent, or an educator, but we can't put it all on the educators as well, because a lot of times they they learn when they go to school, but it's your job as a parent. And so me having a young child, she does use her iPad, she does watch the television, but there are days where we have no tablet Tuesdays in my house. And so you cannot watch it. She can play with her dolls, she can play with all the other toys in the room, her kitchen set, whatever. Use your imagination. One thing about children is they have an imagination. You just have to allow them the free space to use it. But we get so used to we're so busy that we don't want to be bothered. And so we do screen time as a babysitter. Really. And so that's where the issue comes in. So I see what you're saying, but it's about being an active parent.
Okay, so y'all are going into the next question. Do you think too much screen time is causing our children to be delayed in some areas, such as lacking common survival tools, lacking in education, common sense social skills, etc., like different things like that?
I think yes. I think they can. I think it actually delays their speech. They too much. They can become obese. It can affect their cognitive thinking, mentally. Of course, socially, it can affect them if you're always on it. It's kids that really don't want to go outside.
Yeah.
You know, because all they want to do is like, I need my iPad. I have to stay on my iPad, so they don't want to have any kind of social interaction with anybody else. It also leads to depression and anxiety. Like I said, weight. So it can have an unhealthy effect on them. I think it can, and it can delay a lot of things.
I would agree as well. Also, I think if you look at, we're just coming back from being basically in isolation for almost 2
yes.
years with COVID, and I can only put on my educational hat and speak from that point. We found in the education system that a lot of the students who were online learning, when they returned face-to-face, they had difficulty with socialization,
Right.
being able to interact with their
Right.
peers, being able to say the proper statements to
Yeah.
the instructors. So all of that had to be retaught. And so I do think it has some effect on, in terms of the duration that they're on, and not balancing it with an opportunity to go outside or to actually have a full-blown conversation with a person face to face. So when you take that away, it does hinder their progress, socially and socially emotionally, as well, as Dawn was saying.
Do you think for like the younger children, do you think it kind of delays their large motor skills?
I agree, I do. I think, and one thing that we did in our system was to make sure that every educator knew, while you were face-to-face on the internet during that time, you also had to put some type of body movement or some type of mindfulness activity in the lesson to get the students up and moving during that time. But those educators and those sessions that did not have that, if you're talking about homeschooling or tutoring, that did not have that, we found that the students, when they did return, they were a little delayed in their interaction and their social motor skills when you're talking about the kindergarten, first grade, the lower grades.
Yeah.
So I am going to disagree. I have a child that has a developmental delay, and she has learned more phrases than I need her to by watching the shows on her tablet. So I think it's a case-by-case basis, because sometimes it's a learning tool.
Right.
Because what you can't teach them, they can learn from something else. But again, as we all have said, it's about monitoring. I do agree with it gives them lack of social skills because they learn to, just be tunneled. But I do not agree that it delays them, because sometimes they learn too much. Sometimes they learn what they don't need to know. And that's in the good or the bad way. Right. Because you can find anything that you want to find on the internet.
Right.
And so I don't agree with it giving a delay at all. I don't think so. I mean, socially, yes. Emotionally, perhaps. But as far as learning, no, absolutely not. The proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
I want to address that survival skills piece. I think that technology kind of disarms people. I mean, more often than not, when I see young people, let's say out, I'm working a major city. Out, they are not alert because they are in the phone.
Right.
And I've always lived in major cities, so the thing is, keep your neck on a swivel. Like, you need to be alert at what's going on around you, other people, traffic, anything. So I just find people just totally not, really present in the environment. They're so into what they're doing on the phones, and I think that's even true. For younger children, they're so desensitized to not really look around them. They may be trusting that they're with a parent or they're in, in another environment that's safe, but you're not aware of what's going on around you. You're not seeing who's seeing you. On the bus stop, walking home, outside of the school, playground, wherever. Like, I need you to be a little
But I think
bit
that's a
more
learned skill as well, because but you're absolutely right. We have it immobilizes us, where you don't know what's going on. I know that everybody has appears heard. You know, when you get in your car, don't stop and look at your phone and just
Yeah.
sit there and be always aware of your surroundings. But I think it's something that has to be taught. I don't think that because we're in a technology age and it's going to increase. It's not going to decrease by any means. And so what we need to do is make sure that we teach our young people, or even, you don't want to be nervous and anxious,
Right.
because then you build a lot of anxiety as well. So that brings another problem, another show. But you also just want to make sure that you are aware of your surroundings. I know that I have a 21-year-old, and I'm just like, hey, when you're out, she's driving, she's on her own, she's coming home from work. If it's, evening, hey, when you walk in the house, even if you park right in front of the door, I don't care. Somebody could be walking down the street fast enough, and you in that phone trying to come in the house. You can't get in that gate fast enough. Make sure you look before you get out of the car. So it's a learned skill, and we have to learn to teach them how to do this. Be vigilant in it.
It has to be taught. Right.
They had something on social media where, what was it called, the Jason challenge or something like that, or where they had to run, see how long or how fast they could get in the house before, like, they had to unlock the door and everything. If somebody was coming after, and a lot of them didn't make it.
Oh, wow.
A lot of them didn't make it. So it's like that just popped in my head when you was like going in the house. You got to get through that gate fast enough. Not like being aware of your surroundings that's something that a lot of people don't really. They be like, oh well, I live around here, everybody know me.
Right.
But what about that person that comes in the neighborhood that don't know anybody?
Let me tell you
nobody don't
something.
know?
We moved into, when I moved into my new house, we were there, like, to make the story shorter, there's a lady who used to sit out on her porch. When we moved in, someone broke into our house because we were the new house. So I guess they was like, hey, let's see what they got. The person who broke in the house walked out the front door with stuff in their hand. She was sitting on her porch, and she said, I just saw y'all moving in, so I thought somebody was bringing stuff in and out.
Oh, wow.
So she saw them, but she didn't know because she didn't know us. But that goes to being aware of your surroundings and being that she was able to say, oh, they had on this and they drove away in this car or whatever, thank God. But it's just about being aware, because anything can happen right under your nose and you don't know.
So I think that while especially younger people, while they're trying to develop all of these skills, learning virtually or managing what to do with technology, being alert without being anxious, I think, just the introduction of technology is still a little, we're just throwing another thing in the mix. Like all of these other things are already on the table. Education is already on the table, but the technology piece, it's another distraction. I think for us, we were plenty distracted by TV, phone, pager, everything. So even the more so for this generation, because so much more is based on technology.
But it's not going away. That's the thing.
That's
It's
all
not
they
going away.
know.
It's going to become more.
Right.
Yes.
10 years ago, we didn't know that we would be able to have an air fryer.
Right.
Like just the little things. I'm
Okay,
saying,
no.
right? See, that's what I'm saying. You're talking about technology, but technology is going to increase and it's going to be good. We are actually now we got cars that run without gas.
Absolutely.
I've only used it twice.
Stop using it.
What, the air fryer?
Yeah.
No, we gonna use this air fryer because this air fryer is
I don't have
blessed.
one, but I want one. They say they good.
Oh, they're
She
nice.
100.
Right.
The air fryer is blessed. It don't have all that grease.
All
The air
that
fryer is blessed.
fluorocarbons. Y'all gonna find out 60 years from now the thing does the same thing the microwave does.
Well, I mean, listen, we got people in the family who done lived to
Cooking your
104,
food with a light.
and they ate way worse stuff than we do. So
True. Now, with all this new technology, do you think it affects the children's behavior?
absolutely, absolutely.
How so?
Games.
I know for mine, she acts like life is not going to go on if she don't have it. When we have no tablet Tuesdays, she keeps coming to my room door. I have my tablet. I have my tablet. And I'm saying, no, you cannot. Not today. Not today. So eventually she lets it go. But she's not a child that gives up. So she's going to keep on asking all day long until whatever she wants, she's going to keep asking But for technology, I'm talking about like she is going to fall out in this floor. She's going to need an inhaler, and she don't have asthma. It's bad. That's just the way. So it definitely affects their behaviors and their actions because they think that it's a part of them.
Yeah.
I was going. Oh, sorry. I was going to say also yes, it definitely does. Children can become defiant, irritable, angry, temper tantrums. My grandson is 1 year old, and he slides the phone up, and when I say, give me back my phone, he go right into a little rage. And I'm like, wait a minute, you only one. And you acting this way, displaying all of these little behaviors and everything. So he really gets angry. I mean, where he screams, and go into like a little fit because the cell phone, and I'm like, well, no, you can't use it. So they really can tend to act up.
That's our fault.
I can believe it.
It is.
Because I have an 11-month-old niece who tries to get the phone. I'm like, you're not getting my phone. She'll be like, I'm like,
And they know how to work it. They know how to do it.
I did.
Yes.
But I was on FaceTime with her. Oh my gosh, I was on FaceTime with her, and she put it on YouTube.
That's
and you
right.
know how you can
Yes,
share.
they know how to
the
work
screen
them.
while
Yes.
we-
The 11-month-old.
The 11-month-old. She put it on, and I'm yelling in the phone. Hello. Nobody came. My sister was
yes.
right there. Nobody.
My grandson, he changed my TV remote and with the TV, and I said, wait a minute, he had this on French. He had the TV on French and changed, and I came in the room, I said, what are
Yeah.
they saying? And he just kept on flicking, and then he almost broke it because I didn't know how to go back into it. He had the closed captions on. I'm like, wait a minute, just give me this remote back. And you know what he did? Threw it on the floor. Cause
You know why? Because they see us do it. And that's the thing. All we do, like for my little one, she sees her big sisters, and they have their phone. They showed her how to scroll on. So when she watches a show on a specific social media outlet, she knows how to scroll up, move over to the next video. I'm done with this. I don't want to watch that. Like she knows how to do all. Yeah. So I'm like, well, why don't you just pick a show and watch it? She's still.
She gets tired of watching.
I'm over this. All right, let me go here. Let me come out of this app and go to the next one. But it's us. It's what they see us do,
Right, definitely,
and what we
yes.
teach them. Like you're saying, you have a 1-year-old or an 11-month-old who is fretful because you won't give them a phone.
Yes.
Somebody gave them that phone to keep them quiet.
Yes.
And so now they like, what you mean I can't have it?
Right. And I
So
can
we
say
use
I'm-
it as
I
a
can say- I
pacifier.
can say I'm
Right,
guilty
yeah.
of that too. When I'm around them, like, here, you watch this, you get that tablet, get the iPad, you take the phone, sit down. When you trying to calm them all
It's
down.
become a babysitter.
Yeah.
And
they
so,
used to
because
having it.
they're used to having it, and so when you take it from them, it creates the behaviors in them. Like, what? You're a different person. This is not what you said. That wasn't the agreement.
Right.
And I think too, what you're talking about is like really modeling. So then I think too about the content they're watching. I think we were talking some before the show. I've seen so many young people, hi guys, and emulate the characters they see on different videos or messages. Like, you're not on the show. We're here in real life, but the expectation that there's somebody watching them, or there's an audience, or that they're being recorded, like I think that is a development issue, or like that expectation that fame or media is very accessible to them. Like, oh, I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to have followers. I'm going to have subscribers. I'm going to do my toy
See,
demos.
I'm the opposite
or-
though, because I love it. I feel like it builds their character. Because
Go
what
ahead.
happens is we have so many people who are withdrawn. We have so many people who are introverts.
Yes.
And so for me, I love to see my child believe
Right.
that she has an audience and she has because her personality
Comes out and opens
it
up.
makes
Yeah.
it bigger instead of
Yes.
her
I can
be,
understand
so
that.
like I understand what you're saying, but
Right.
at the same time, I'm not going to stop that from mine
Right.
because I feel like when we do stuff like that, like example, she came in here one day and she went up there and she was playing the drums, and the drummer was up there, and the drummer was like, "Okay, well, we going to show her," and I was like, "No, come down, that don't sound good, whatever," and so Pastor Marcus was like, "Yes, it does." He was like, "At this age, it's developing." He said, "But now when you older and you doing it and it don't sound good, we tell them." He
Right.
said, "But at this age, you let them develop."
So like I see the creativity piece of it, I see the imagination piece of it, but I think the maturity or the development piece that needs to come in is the guidelines, or like you're saying, making sure that there's a parent present so that that person isn't actually live, or they aren't sharing videos of, of themselves without the parent's consent or support.
Now, do you think that this advanced technology that our children have access to is making them grow too fast?
Yes. Yeah. I would say yes, because again, with the monitoring, it's all about who's monitoring and, how we're keeping our eye on it and not just letting it raise or train our children or even our young adults, because some of them are just like, okay, I had a conversation with someone and they were like, oh, my child said that, I don't have to, I'm gonna just take a year off of college because they have a business. And they were like, well, I was told, I can make $20,000 a month. And so then the person was like, well, and then what?
Right.
Then what happens with that?
Right. When that's
What's going to happen?
right.
What you going to do with $20,000 a month, and what you going to do when it stops?
Right.
Because you're going to be expecting. So it's how it builds the mind to not think past right here. So I think that it's definitely an issue.
Now, right.
Yeah, we have to be so careful with that, because we still have young ladies and also little boys that are getting onto the dark web. That's a whole nother issue.
Yes.
And we have had children being taken away.
Yes.
You're not seeing them anymore. Children have been put into sex trafficking and different things that, Lord forbid, we don't want our children to be privy to. So again, the monitoring is the key piece, but also with the games that they have access to now, that they can use the points and everything with.
So violent.
I don't want to name any specific ones, but there are some that are very graphic.
Yes.
They have the sexual pieces in there. They also have the fighting. And then with the little ones, it's impressionable, because then they think they can bring it to school and emulate what they've seen on these video games and on these things. So with everything with technology, it has to be monitoring, there has to be limitations, and it has to be guidance. That's where that parental control comes from.
Right.
Now, do you think that parents have dismissed the traditional way of developing fundamentals within reading and math and things like that? Now I don't think a lot of people really use they had the leapfrogs and everything like that.
Flashcards and things like that. Right. Sitting down, actually teaching that child.
Right, going over stuff with the
Yes.
children and being interactive with the children,
Right.
not just throwing something on. Even though I will say some of the things that they have online,
Right, yes.
on different resources online. I'm just say that.
Yes.
Instead of just pinpointing specific ones, but I do believe that they are learning tools. They are useful learning tools, and that the children do learn from those. But do you all think that a lot of parents have dismissed the traditional way of developing those fundamentals in teaching?
I was going to say yes. I've had parents come to me previously when I was working in the school system and said, well, you're the teacher, that's your job. You're supposed to teach them. But the education and the lessons still continue after they leave school. You still have to be responsible for your child and teaching them. And also, I've also had where they came up to me and said, well, everything they need to know is on the internet, so why should I teach them? And I'm like, well, as parents, as teachers, we have a job too, in whatever kind of system you're working in school, whatever. Dealing with kids, but also as a parent, we have a job also to be a parent to our children, to instill that education in them. And a lot of parents just say here, because they lack time, they don't want to sit down and do it, and it's just easier for them to learn off of that. Now, don't get me wrong, social sites and a lot of things on the internet, they do have a lot of educational things on there. Even with the singing, with preschools and a lot of things. But like y'all said before, it has to be monitored. And the key thing is it has to be a balance.
Yes.
So if it's no balance and not monitored, it's just a mess.
So I don't think that parents dismiss it. I think that we're just noticing it. Because I used to be a teacher back, and you used to be a teacher, and parents didn't do it then.
Right.
It didn't have anything to do with social media.
It's not new.
You know what I mean? So I don't think that, now for me, I got old school index cards and flashcards. I make them myself, and we I go over things, and we have books, and we do all of that, but that's because that's who I am.
Exactly.
And that's how I was trained, how I was raised.
Yes.
But this isn't new.
No.
So I'm not going to
Not at
say that
all.
parents are
That's true.
dismissing it now because of social media. Parents or technology, parents way back, it's two things. Either they don't care to do it or they don't know
How
how.
to do it right.
And so it's not something that just came about. It's just that we're just noticing it now because technology is so big now. Technology is the, what's the word? The biggest thing. So technology is the forefront. And so now we're like, oh, parents aren't teaching their kids. They ain't been teaching their kids for 30 years.
Right.
Right.
That's so true.
And that's so true. Being in the classroom for kindergarten this year, you see a wide spectrum. I have kindergartners that are geniuses that can count to 100 already and write their name and speak full sentences. Then I have those that don't even know how to hold a pencil,
Yes.
don't even know the letters of the alphabet. So we can't say that the parents aren't doing. There's as you know, an advocate for the parents as well, there are different learning levels and learning skills in the parents as well. So as the educators, we have to understand that there's a gap in that learning and be able to provide strategies and techniques and resources for the parent as well as for the children so that everybody can meet where they need to be. With the technology piece, you can't use technology to teach someone how to hold a pencil.
Right.
So that's where
Trace with their finger.
right. That's where we as the educator come in and say, okay, mommy, daddy, Johnny don't know how to hold his pencil the proper way, and this is what we taught them. Here's a pencil practice at home. And sometimes you even have to take the parents' hands and show them how to properly hold the pencil and utilize the technique of penmanship.
It's like you said, because there's a gap. There's a well-known media station here that had people on there, and they were talking about this, the city school systems here. And there was somebody who was like 30, 40, talking about, I got through school and I still don't know how to read. And I'm like, well, why are you talking about it 30 years later?
Right.
Because
Right.
there were so many resources and opportunities for you to be able to
Take
do
advantage
it.
of it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But it's just that, like you said, there's a gap that we are not seeing, and so we want to blame it on technology. But it's not technology. It's the lack of information and education sometimes for the people who are supposed to be training them.
Do y'all feel like it's a new and improved tool, technology for teaching? Like, is technology the new and improved tool for teaching and for education?
I wouldn't say new and improved. I would say it's a good resource,
Yes, I was
Okay.
gonna
but
say,
nothing
yeah.
is going to replace, in my mind and in my heart, nothing is going to
Right.
replace or be better than that teacher who will get there
Yes.
with that student or with that person, because the student can be any age. If I'm 30 years old, if I'm 40 years old, and I go back to an institution, do not sit me in front of a computer
Right.
and try to have that teach me something, because that's not how we were trained in
Right.
school. So that's not going to work for me. I need a person. So if I have a question, then I need to ask them. I need an answer. I don't need to wait until you email me back to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think too, those teachers or live educators, mentors, all the coworkers versus training programs and screens, whatever, you can benefit because they know more than one way to get to the answer. Like a lot of times with technology, it's just if you don't decode it the right way or press the right sequence, then you're out. But a teacher can pivot. A teacher can understand this person is more of a tactile learner, or this person is
Now,
more
online
literal.
school, online school.
Online school,
yeah,
yeah.
it's great. But I
online
need a teacher in front of me. I need the
Right.
whole class, all 32 blocks.
I think we all agree on that point, that we definitely do need a teacher, and that's more. I can't think of the word right now, but it helps a whole
Yes,
lot.
it is
Well, ladies, we're out of time. We want to thank Pastor Tony and Victorious Ministries International for allowing us to be a part of the vision. We hope that what we've discussed today will open up a talk in your house, a discussion in your house to talk about. Until next time, bye bye.